All right, and we are live. Welcome back to the 2017 Canadian Singles Championships. I'm Jake Shuknik, joined this afternoon by John Bjornson. How are you doing, John?
Not too bad, Jake. Beautiful day.
Absolutely gorgeous day here. Our feature match here, we have Mary Wright from BC playing off against Elizabeth Jones from Saskatchewan. Picking up this game with 2 bowls each already played, I believe. Both of them using black bowls. Mary Wright's got, I guess, gold decals, I believe. Oh, great shot there.
Right on a jack.
And Elizabeth Jones has the pink decals. Mary Wright's the defending champ from last year. And I believe Elizabeth Jones is a relatively new bowler. Not sure how many years she's got under her belt, but I'll look into that later as we have a nice little player profile sheet that I can look into for all their dirty little secrets.
Elizabeth and her husband Nick told me that they came for the experience, so you got to watch those people.
Mm-hmm.
They're usually sneaky good.
Sneaky good is a good way to put it. So you played against Terry on one of the games we streamed yesterday on this rink, so you know all the ins and outs of this after having played on it yesterday and many times before that, I'm sure.
A few tricky spots, but in general, decent draw from both sides. There's Mary sitting at least one.
Mm-hmm. Wind has just about disappeared completely compared to yesterday, and now that the sun's out, it's turned into a beautiful week here in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Beautiful draw there.
Pretty good draw there from Elizabeth to finish the end. So that's probably one for the Saskatchewan native.
Resident of Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan.
Moose Jaw.
We have a very dapper looking marker next door, Bob Arthur, all decked out in his white shirt, black pants, and a tie. He takes this game seriously.
Dressing to impress.
Dressed to impress, that's right. Actually looks quite good.
He does, he does.
Got sunglasses going and everything.
I think I'd be sweating up a storm if I was wearing a shirt and pants like that, but...
I'd find it a little warm too, especially after you wear the shorts for a few months.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Getting,
umpire called on the very first end.
Mm. Okay, so we'll see if Elizabeth's last bowl there that could be shot if it's in play.
Yeah, that's an interesting situation.
Putting the umpires to work right off the get-go here in this very first end. Is that Clarice Fitzpatrick down there at the end?
Clarice Fitzpatrick, yeah, lining her up down the line. I guess they're going to put the fishing line on it, or
no? I think Clarice said it was on the line without even needing it.
Yeah.
So I guess she's trusting her eyes. And Mary's going to get down to measure anyway. Mary Wright, the White Rock, British Columbia native.
Beautiful area, White Rock.
Yeah, have you been?
Some of the nicest weather in BC in that little area.
Can't say I've ever been there. I don't know if I knew this, but it probably shouldn't surprise me that Mary's a retired school teacher. I probably could have guessed that, but...
yeah, that fits.
So Elizabeth's electing to keep the mat just about one mat length in front of the tee, I suppose.
Just about a full length.
Yeah,
So
just
it
in the
fell
ditch.
There isn't much of a lip here on these plinths.
Yeah, no, you're not going to get much carpenter help here.
No.
The new backboards are looking nice, though. I was pleasantly surprised to see how good they turned out.
Yeah, that went in last year.
Mhm.
A lot of work, 800 hours of volunteer labor into those backboards.
Holy smokes.
In questionable weather.
Mm-hmm.
Tremendous volunteers here in Winnipeg for lawn bowling.
Yeah, and if you're in the area, come on down to the Norwood Lawn Bowling Club or the Dakota Lawn Bowling Center, as we'll have action here all week right up until Saturday evening, I suppose, depending on how long those gold medal matches take.
So Mary threw a 3/4 length, I guess you'd call it, maybe short of that for the jack.
Yeah, much shorter than what Elizabeth was
Yeah.
aiming for, that's for sure. Big thanks to Emily Amazzini and the rest of the officiating crew for officiating for us this week. It's it's quite the job to be doing that for a whole week.
Yeah, it's a very important job.
Quite often it goes unnoticed or unthanked, but definitely needed and greatly appreciated.
Those measures can make the difference in a game quite easily.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's been no complaints about the green speed here. It's very nice. It's around a 13 second using the old measure, around a 16 using the SRPM ramp method.
I can never get that acronym right. I always mix up a few letters. SRPM.
I just remember the RPM.
RPM.
Throw
Okay,
the S
yeah.
in front.
It's a good way to remember it. I think I'll probably always remember that now.
Simpson Reference Pace Meter, I believe it's called.
Ah.
VP Sports provides the SRPM.
Don't know if I ever actually knew what that stood for.
I think one of the inventors of it was last name of Simpson.
Yeah, Ken Simpson. He's the Ontario Bulls president right now, I believe.
Oh, very
Yeah.
important man.
Yeah, I think he worked with Dan Milligan to put that together, model it after what they use in golf.
Works very well. You get a very consistent reading. You can't really compare it to the old method of rolling the bowl and using the stopwatch. It, in my view, around 3 second difference, 2 to 3 second difference between the two measurements.
Mm-hmm. Makes for a pretty accurate reading when you're not using a stopwatch or guessing how far you threw it, 90 meters or whatever it used to be. But this way, with the automated ramp, it's all pretty standard, straightforward. You can't really get much variation from that.
Yep, the ramp has a little, lever on the bottom, and you just pull that, and the jack, which is a special jack, rolls down the ramp, and you measure how far it went, and that's your reading. If it goes 16 feet, the measurement is 16.
Oh, so it's measured by feet?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I didn't know that. Any guesses on what Elizabeth's occupation was, I guess I should say?
Elizabeth. Oh, tough one. She looks like she could be on television. She's got the looks for it.
Well, she's on TV now, so. But no, she used to be. She's a retired nurse and midwife,
Okay.
is what she put down. So.
I should have been able to recognize that. I'm married to a nurse.
Oh, there you go. Well, I know there's plenty of volunteers here who are. I wouldn't say on call, but in case anything happens, they can give us some first aid, CPR, and whatnot. But I guess now we got another bowler that could step in if need be as well.
I believe we have 6 people that have taken the course, trained for first aid care here,
Oh,
in case
goodness.
anything should go wrong.
So far, so good, I think. I think probably the worst thing that we'd have to worry about might be a bee sting, and that's probably about the worst of it, I would hope.
Mostly wasps, I think.
Wasps, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a few of them around the suites.
But I think I'll take those over mosquitoes. I'm okay with the odd wasp sting here and there, because they're not as annoying as a mosquito, I find.
We've actually had a really good year for mosquitoes in Winnipeg.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't had one on me, believe it or not, all year.
Really?
Yeah. So we have the reputation for it, but it's not holding up. A little bit of a loose one there from Elizabeth.
Interesting. I'm reading through their player profiles here, and Mary Wright said she's been bowling for 18 years, and Elizabeth said she used to play a lot, but then gave it up for a while, and now she's returned, so I'm not sure how many years ago it was that she used to bowl, or how long she gave it up. She didn't specify, but that tends to be a pretty popular trend here in Canada, that a lot of people bowl, and then family or jobs or something else gets in the way, and then take a short hiatus and come back later.
Well, it's a game you can play basically all of your life.
Yeah.
You've got very young people play it, and up to in their 90s and still playing, which makes it nice when you're traveling. You can stop in at a bowling green, and you're usually welcomed, and you can be on the green and playing in no time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I thought it was quite funny in Jordan Koss's info sheet. She said for her favorite travel destination or holiday getaway, it's anywhere with a lawn bowling green.
I believe that.
Wherever she can roll a bowl, she's happy to be.
Okay, Elizabeth hasn't really found the weight here yet. This hand.
Pretty consistently behind, whereas Mary's made a few adjustments here to get him in close. Looks like Mary might be lying 4 right about now, actually. Pretty important last bowl here for Elizabeth. I think she needs to find a friend with this. She might.
She didn't. Oh, she did.
Well, she got one out. That might be third shot.
Helps a bit.
So Mary's using Drake's Pride Professionals, and Elizabeth's using Allmark Clubmaster. I've only ever, I think I've seen one other Allmark set. It's not exactly a popular make or model over here.
No, I'm not very familiar with them either, but I have seen a few sets in the bowls we have around for club bowlers that haven't got their own.
Do you ever look at your opponent's line when they're throwing a bowl to see what kind of grass they're taking, or do you just not?
I do. I look at what model they have of bowl and brand, and if it's anything similar to mine, I pay a lot of attention to the line that the opponent is using.
So I guess an Allmark might not be too useful for you then, because
no.
I have no idea what their bowls are like.
I was just playing Rob Law in the last game, and we both throw Taylor aces, so
okay.
I pay a lot of attention.
Yep. Both of you are right-handed players, I believe.
We're both right-handed. We both throw the same bowl. They were actually the same color, red.
Oh, there you go. That could make for a nice confusing game.
Yeah, it was tough on the marker.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. I find I always get thrown off if I try to watch a lefty bowl, because they take a slightly different line just based on being opposite-handed.
Yeah, the release point is likely a good foot or foot and a half difference, so you're going to get a different result every time.
Pretty good opening bowl there from Mary.
When I am against a lefty, I will move on the mat to make my release closer to what theirs is, and then it becomes more comparable.
Really? Interesting. Can't say I really move around on the mat a whole lot. I definitely don't really look at what other people are doing that much, I guess.
I tend to use it to avoid if there's runs in the green, that type of thing. That's
Yep.
when I tend to use it.
I use it a fair bit for weight, I guess. If I'm a little bit light, then I'll just move up a little bit on the mat and adjust that way. So Mary picked up a 2 there last end to make it 3-1 in this game.
Okay.
And on the rink next door, it's 3-1 as well for Jan Robinson over Claire Day.
Get the scores of the games for us. There. Bring them down. Is Bob in our view right now?
Okay, all right. Well,
Is Bob Arthur in our view?
no, we can't see him at all. Mr. It's Bob Strong, I believe his name is correct.
This is Bob Strong. That's
Yeah.
Bob Arthur in the
Bob Arthur, okay.
the white shirt and tie. That's what I was wondering.
Okay, yeah,
See him
I can just make out.
in the corner of their screen. They might be able to see him.
Yeah. Can't see his head, but you can see shoulders down, right in front of the Canada banner.
There goes our flower lady, Claire, with the flowers in her hat. She never bowls without the flowers in her hat.
She also showed us. She was on the TV rink for her first round this morning, and she showed us that her shoes light up. She has a little button there that she can push, and then light up like disco lights at the bottom. They're pretty unique. I've never seen anything like that before. So, in case you're curious about Mary Wright's results to date at the national level, any guesses on how many provincial medals she has?
Me?
Yep.
Oh, I would guess she would be somewhere between, I'd say around 25.
Oh, you're pretty close. Little short, though. She's up to 31 provincial medals. 10 of those also at the national level, with 4 gold. Last year won 2 national gold medals, 1 silver. And of course she's off to the Champion of Champions in New South Wales, Australia at the St. John's Lawn Bowling Club. I think she heads out at the end of October, if I'm not mistaken. Her and Pat will be heading down under. You competed in that, was that earlier this year or last year?
Did. Helensville. Yeah, that was last year.
Last year, yeah.
Great experience. Speed of the green is amazing. 17, 18 seconds. With wind, very challenging.
I was going to say, was it super windy when you were there?
It was.
Yeah.
You're constantly watching the flags for wind gusts. It can change the line and length of your bowl substantially.
I was given a little bit of advice from Dan Milligan before I went to Australia, the one time I went, and he said when he was there, he would always watch the marker's pants, because then that would show you what the wind is doing down at the green level and how that would impact your bowl. So he would look for the pants of the marker to see which way they were flapping.
You would think it would be easier to go against the wind if it's a side wind, but I found that it seemed easier to go actually with the flow of the wind. I'm not sure why. I guess because of the gusting of the wind. I ended up often going with the wind.
Very tricky to do when it's gusting and not consistent. You don't know when you're going to get a random blow or not.
We have Bob Strong out there. He's going to mark down all the scores for us. We should have that back in a few minutes.
Big thanks to Bob. He was one of our featured co-commentators, I guess, yesterday. Can't believe I'd never met him before. This was the first time I've ever actually met Bob. He's been to many events before.
He was big into bowls a few years back, before my time. I've only been in it 10 years. And prior to that, he's been to a lot of nationals.
So it's 10 years you've been playing for?
10 years.
10 years, yeah. Okay.
9 years competitive.
Someone was telling me the otother day that they thought you'd only been playing for 5 or 6. And I said, there's no way. He's been playing for longer than that. There's no way.
He's too old for that, eh?
Well, I was thinking more your skill level, the fact that you've already won the outdoor and the indoor and been off to Australia. There's no way you've only done all that in 5 years or less.
That's my main claim to fame, actually. The the fact that I held both titles at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody else has ever done that.
No, I think there's three. I think there's three
Are
people
there
that
three?
have done it,
Yeah.
I think so.
Definitely not a common feat.
No. And I doubt that I'll match it again.
Well, you never know. This event's not over yet, and you're sitting at 2-1. You got a chance still for the first of the singles events.
Yeah, you never say die. Wow, what a shot there. Oh, to sit possibly two.
Yeah, I think it might be two. Mary's going to come down and take a look, though. That's going to make things much trickier for Mary to get into that.
That was by our gal that's here for the experience.
Mm-hmm. As you said, they can be real tricky, those experienced folks. So Elizabeth's parents-in-law were good crown green bowlers.
Ah, yes. You ever played it?
I don't think I've ever played. I might have played it just for jokes before a tournament at one point, but never really.
I've never played it either. Apparently it's fairly different in that there's several games going on at the same time from all different places on the green. And the other odd thing is that the jack has a bias, something similar to what the bowls have. And there's little knolls and hills in the green. So you're playing off hills and you try and confound your opposition by putting in the most difficult spot possible. But I guess it's quite something to see them going all different directions on the green at the same time. And requires a great deal of skill, from what I hear.
I feel like I'd quite enjoy that. I think one day I want to go and find
It would be interesting.
crown bowling green to roll a few on.
I know they do it a lot in Scotland and England. I'm not sure where else, likely Wales.
Mary was just a little wide on that as she just trickled into the ditch, trying to play some controlled weight through there. On Monday night, you showed us a little bit of Belgian bowling. That was quite the quite the treat. I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah, we thought we'd have the lawn bowlers out there and roll something a little different than what they're used to. A Belgian bowl is about 3 inches wide and about likely 8 inches in diameter, and weighs approximately 6.5 to 7 pounds. And you roll it. The bias is built into the Belgian bowl. There's a bit beveled edges on it. And it takes quite a bit of skill, actually, but the concept is very similar to lawn bowling in that you're bowling at a target. In Belgian bowling, you're bowling at stakes set 30 feet apart, normally on a grass or a mud surface, and it's very similar to lawn bowling, and I suppose that's why I gained a little bit of expertise. I don't usually tell people about that. But that's what we were doing at the opening, and it went over really big with the participants and a few of the fans. I think our winner was Mike McNorton.
Mike McNorton.
Of Ontario, now San Jose, California.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Just recently relocated down there for a new job. Well, I shouldn't say a new job, a new location for his job, I guess.
It was quite interesting watching them try and throw it, because a lot of them ended up giving it a little twist, I guess, and the Belgian bowl was sliding on its side rather than rolling. And the amount of grass we had to take was, I would guess, approximately 30 to 40 feet of grass.
Yep.
Whereas here you'd be taking 7, 8 to 10 feet. So it was quite different. But it was very entertaining.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed that. Really enjoyed that. So Bob's got us some scores here. We've got Gary Pickering up 4-3 over Pat Bird after 3 ends, down on 8 on rank number 7. We have, trying to see, that's Glenn Taylor up 3-0 over Carter Watson after 3. On rink 6, that's Gary O'Connell down 9-2 against Malky Taylor, 9-2 after 5. Rink 5, that's Ernie Mead up 6-2 over John Siteman after 5. Is that Betty Van Wellingham up 9-1 over Lois Koss, I believe?
Lois Koss.
Lois Koss, yeah, after 4. And then the rink next door, we have Jan Robinson up 5-1 over Claire Day after 4. Thanks for getting those for us, Bob. Appreciate that. was kind of funny. For the final day at the senior triples, they were in Peterborough, so I was sitting in the office waiting for the results so I could post about them on Facebook and Twitter and whatnot. And I'm just sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting, and the results weren't being posted, so I eventually had to give Jeff a call to say, hey, where are the results? And he said, oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot we went right into medal award presentation, and then saying bye to everybody. All the winners had all phoned home already, so everybody back home in all their provinces already knew because they were all texting and calling, so all the family and friends had already heard before I could find out what the results were.
Is there results board somewhere here? It just pronounced results and standings.
If you go onto our website, bullscanada.com, then under the champion, or I think it's the championship tab at the top, you scroll down to singles, and then you'll be able to see the standings, results, draw, all that fun stuff.
We've got a bit of a unique situation. We've got the scorer that posts all those results on the website lives in Matlock, which is likely an hour's drive from here.
Mm-hmm.
And he's doing the whole process from his home, and it seems to be working fairly well.
Yeah.
His name is Gord Emick, and he's
Gord
a
Emick.
good friend of mine. He's one of those anal guys that loves numbers and this kind of stuff, and he's tailor-made for the job. Big thank you to Gord Emick if you're listening.
Yep, big thanks, Gord. I guess that works out pretty well. You probably just give him a call after each round to say, here's what they are, put them in the system, and,
Yep.
and away
Give
you
him
go.
a chart. They give him all the stats of the results, and he enters it, and it all works great.
See if results, would they be current up to
Oh, yeah.
this
Yeah.
morning?
Oh, sure. Up to the last draw. Yeah.
I'll see if I can print them out.
'Kay.
That's what people are asking.
That'd be great.
So while we've been talking about Belgian bowling and scores and everything else, we've got a 7-4 game in front of us here now as Elizabeth picked up a 3, I believe, on that last end. Pretty good show in there to make this a much closer set. Do you prefer sets play or points play?
You know, I'm really not that overly partial to either one of them. I think the points play gives the more experienced and more skilled bowler a better chance of winning.
Mm-hmm.
I believe sets play kind of evens the field a bit because it is broken into 2 mini games,
Mm-hmm.
and things can happen
Mhm.
in 9 ends
Yep.
that
Yep.
you're not expecting, and it gives the lesser player a better chance of winning. So I like that, but I also like the running to 21, and if you've got your 13 points, it stays with you.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
doesn't get erased after the first set.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I guess if you forced me to make an answer which one, I would say points play to 21.
I think I'm the same way with you. It's not that I don't like playing sets, but I agree. I think that the more skilled player tends to win more often when you play to points. I'd like to modify the points that we play to, though, as in Australia sometimes they play to 25 or 31, so those could be much longer games. It could take a lot longer, but there are some times when you have that tight game and losing 21-20 is just such a frustrating way to lose that having those few extra points gives you a little more opportunity.
The problem is, I guess 21 to 20 could mean 41 ends.
That's true.
Which
That's
is
true.
a long time. It doesn't happen very often, but it is possible.
And I guess if you were to play to 31, that would be 61
Yeah.
ends. That could be a dreadfully long game. Battle of endurance then at that point more than anything else.
Even in points play, though, you can have a wide spread, like say a 19-2 situation, and
Mhm.
it can still take another hour to finish.
Yep. Yeah.
I've had it happen, I know.
Yeah, you and me both. I remember when I first played the North American Challenge, I was up against... I actually got lucky enough to play singles, which I was quite happy about, so got up to a 19-2 lead and ended up losing the game 21-19.
Oh, really?
And then the next game I got up to a 17-3 lead and lost 21-17.
Oh, my.
So wasn't
You
until
gotta
the
learn how
third
to finish, Jake.
wasn't until the third game before I finally snuck a victory out, but man, was I ever frustrated after those 2 games.
Yeah, it can be frustrating. I happened to win that one I was talking about, but it was 19-2, and I think I won 21 to 17 or something, but it took a long time.
Yeah, that's one thing that they taught me from a young age, is never ever give anyone a point in singles, because sometimes 1 point is all they need. So if you have the chance to skunk them, then do it, because
Yeah.
you might end up losing if you don't.
Yeah, the momentum can swing pretty
Mhm.
quickly.
As soon as they get the mat, then they might change things. You might never get it back.
Changing the length can often make a dramatic difference in the play.
Hmm. Do you tend to play with the mat a lot? Bring it up and pull it back?
I do. Well, I haven't in this competition, but normally I do when I'm playing here, especially on the carpet over at Dakota.
Right, right.
And because everybody knows the carpet, sometimes they're a little afraid of the ditch, so I'll take it up to not right to the hog line, but close,
Hmm.
and play those short jacks to the ditch.
So for anybody listening who wants to know how to beat John Bjornsson,
It's not hard. Some days it's not hard.
well, I gave away all of my my secrets for bowls back when I was streaming in the juniors and the majors. I've said oftentimes that I like to play short ends. So if you're ever playing T to T, you've probably got me beat.
I kind of think that Pat Bird must think I can't play long, because whenever I play him, he throws full-length jacks.
Hmm.
Somehow it's working.
He did that in the at Victoria too. He doesn't always play full length.
I have a feeling it's because I don't have a nice, smooth, long delivery. And Leckley figures that little short backswing, Leckley can't get it all the way to the other end.
Well, you'd be surprised what the variance in deliveries don't really matter necessarily, as long as you're doing the same thing over and over.
Yeah, you see all types out here.
Hmm.
I have to admire Glenn Taylor. I'm just seeing him over there getting ready to deliver, and it's a very unique delivery.
It is.
And,
He runs up a bit until he's standing on the mat. One wind up.
partially blind. You can't see him, but he has very special glasses that he wears that allows him to see enough to bowl, and he's an incredible bowler.
Is he ever? He went to 2-0 the first day.
Just put it just behind the jack, on a long jack, and he's already got one sitting on the jack.
Very, not sure what the word I'm looking for here is, but I wouldn't say loud, but
Animated.
Animated,
I like
yeah.
animated.
Animated is a good word for it.
He's an entertainer out there.
Yes.
So is
yes.
John Seichmann.
I love watching Glenn play because he's always quick to make you laugh, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the game needs some excitement.
Hmm. Hmm. Ah, okay. So, looking at Elizabeth Jones, she says, please say hello to my sisters Wendy and Sue, who should be watching in England. Look forward to
Wow.
seeing them next week. So I guess that must mean that either she's going to England or they're coming here next week. I don't know which, but hello, Wendy and Sue.
Yeah, let me know what I said wrong about Crown Bowling.
Yeah, yeah.
Crown Green Bowling.
Crown Green Bowling. It's quite popular over there. I can't get over how many bowlers there are in different countries for such a small area, I guess. Looking at New Zealand and England and Scotland, comparison to Canada, their landmass is tiny, but they have loads of people.
And the quality, high quality bowlers.
Yes, yes. So it looks like Mary Wright is figuring things out here on the screen as she just locked her first one on there. Not more
Very
than 6
nice.
inches away. Mary Wright is currently on our board of directors for Bowls Canada, and I know we've got some vacancies coming up, so I'm not sure if that deadline is passed or not, but we will be sending out a call for committees soon, so if you're thinking about volunteering with Bowls Canada, I'd strongly recommend you head over to our website and look for ways to get involved. get you another update here shortly as you're sending Bob out on the rounds to...
We're getting Bob in shape here.
Yeah, we're making him get some exercise here as he goes around.
There's John Seitman. He's an entertainer as well.
He is.
Right around the jack.
Usually pretty close when he's shouting at it. Not
You hear the shout.
in the ballpark anyway.
He's got a good one. We had John Seitman introduce all the participants at our opening ceremonies, and that was very, very good. He introduced them in the style of introducing a hockey player onto the arena. He's got the voice.
Yes.
It made it special for everyone.
Did a fantastic job, and he went and tried to gather stats for the players if he could find them. I know he spent a few hours on our website looking to see if they won anything, so he'd introduce them as, 2014 silver medalist at such and such event.
By the time he was done, it sounded like everybody was a champion.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Wonderful thing. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes into commentating someday. I know he's a third-year university student for public relations, I think, is what his degree is right now. But he's quick to hop on the stream here, too. When I was at the juniors, he was very eager to get on the broadcast and commentate as well.
Nice young man.
Yep.
There's Terry O'Neill lurking about. We won't say anything nasty about you, Terry, even though you're beating out all the Manitobans.
Well, you may not say anything nasty, doesn't mean that I won't.
He knocked me off, and in the last draw, he knocked off Bob Van Wellingham. He's still got Rob Law to go.
So Mary picked up another one to make that 15-4. So I think this first set is pretty much in the bag here for Mary.
Wow. She's quite the competitor. She'll be a good representative in Australia for us.
Yeah, I sure hope so. I'm sure that she'll be looking forward to going. I'm not sure if she's taken anyone with her, but she is married to another Scot with 2 children, 4 grandchildren. For those who don't know her, she is Scottish. I'm always surprised how many bowlers in Canada tend to have a Scottish background. Seems to be quite a few everywhere I go.
I find the same. I played some in Sarasota, Florida in the winters for a few years in a row there, and there's an astonishing number of English and Scottish that play there. And they're all fairly competent at it.
Yep. Is it the Sarasota Lawn Bowls Club that you played out of in Sarasota?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where I guess the U.S. Open has been held there the last few years.
I've been there once. Pretty fantastic club. It's pretty close to the water there too.
On the water, yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. 3 greens. Run a pretty similar pace to Canadian greens, I find.
Yeah, the year that I was there was right before the 2014 Commonwealth Games, so they slowed them down to try to make them similar to what you'd find in Scotland. So that was a bit of a slower pace than usual, but that was intentionally done. Actually got really fortunate that year as Team Scotland came over and had a training camp there as well, so we got to play against the Scottish crew. And holy smokes, do they all know how to play. I don't know how they select just 5 people out of their crew. They have a lot of really good bowlers.
See, Mary's gonna... Our sitting one, for sure, is...
Thank you, Bob. We got some more updates here now that we can go around, and I'll Starting the same order as last time, down on rink 8. Gary Pickering is now trailing 7-5 to Pat Bird after 6. On rink 7, Carter Watson is trailing 6-3 to Glenn Taylor after 6. On rink 6, Malky Taylor's up 13-5 over Gary O'Connell after 4. I'm not sure if that's a 4, a 9. Okay, yeah, after 9. And John Seitman is down 8-6 against Ernie Mead after 9 as well. Betty Van Willingham up 13-1 over Lois Koss. And then next door here, Claire Day, Jan Robinson all tied up at 6 after 8. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Lots of action yet here. We still have another round after this today, followed by tomorrow, Friday, Saturday.
The volunteers will have worked hard after that week is over.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Some of them are here all day, every day. I think we have at least 80 volunteers working this competition.
Can't say thank you enough to all the volunteers for putting in time to give back to the sport and make this event a go. It's
couldn't be done without them.
Absolutely. It's a fair bit of work to make this event a go, but many hands make light work, so when you have 80 people stepping in, it makes things a little easier for everyone.
Jake can answer you. Wants us to tell him how the points are.
Oh, okay, yeah, points for sets and whatnot. Okay, so since we are playing 2 sets of 9 ends with a 3-end tiebreak if needed, I believe you're awarded 3 points for a win and 1 point for a tie. No, there are no ties. I'm thinking that's other conditions of play that I'm thinking off the top of my head.
But if each team
wins a set, then you get set points, which is something different than match points. So match points are just specifically wins and losses, and that would be the first thing that you look at when you're ranking people. Then you would go to set points, which is how many sets you've won, lost, or tied. And then after that, there's the old plus minus of shots for and against. I believe that's how that goes. I know that...
Yeah, I think you're right, Jake. And I think the very last resort is if you're tied with someone who you played against, and they take the winner of that game. That's very, very far down on the list before they get to that, which is a little unusual to some people.
And to be fair, since we're letting a lot of people go on to the post-sectionals, I guess, if you're won 50% or greater, I'm not sure if there really be a need for tiebreakers of any sort. As long as you've won 4 games, then you're moving on. But I guess that whole ranking thing comes into play if we need to have...
It's to see who you play against.
Yeah, to see who you play against in any preliminary knockout rounds, I guess.
Yep. Not too many people will want to be playing against Pat Bird the way he's rolling.
I was talking with Phil Clark earlier. He was asking me who my early picks were, and I said, well, it's tough to decide between you or Pat, because Pat won last year, but you won the year before when it was held here, so that's... I'm not sure if I could pick a favorite either way, but...
Well, I watched Pat play a game earlier today, and he's looking pretty good, let's put it that way.
Fresh off his gold medal in the 4s at the majors in Victoria.
Played him in the final last year, and it came down to the last bowl and the tiebreaker, so it was a great game.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same story this year here, if you and him find each other in the final and it comes down to a tiebreak. Would not surprise me one bit.
Is there a bye on the women's side?
Yes.
Yeah, so I actually had that question earlier. What happens with one of the women plays 1 less game than the rest?
Betty Van Willingham.
Betty Van Willingham, that's right. And so they wanted to know what happens for her if, she went undefeated and someone else went undefeated, who would be first in the pool. I thought, oh, that's a really good question. I'm actually really not sure what would happen with that. I would think that the other person who played more games would be first, but I don't know that. That's
I
something
know she only has to win 3, whereas the other ones have to win 4.
That's right. You need to win at least
to move
50%.
forward.
So she plays 6 games while everyone else plays 7. And that's just luck of the draw since there's an odd number of women.
She's a very strong bowler, so I don't think she'll have any problem winning 3.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple years that she's won our singles league, which means that she's beat everyone in the province in our singles league, men and women. And she's done it a couple times, so
very
don't underestimate Betty Van Wall.
very competent singles player then.
Yeah. Robbie Law won it this year, actually.
Oh yeah,
a
that's
real
right.
feather in his
That's
cap.
right.
Yep.
Robbie's been putting in a lot of work with that new delivery of his. It looks like he's coming a long way. Trying to reshake that up.
He can be found almost any morning you want. I don't know, it's around 7:30 in the morning or so, out doing his routines over at the Dakota Lawn Bowling Club. Spends half an hour to 3/4 of an hour every day on that green.
Not sure if it's John Barron, but he mentioned there's another individual who's usually there at the same
Yes.
time as him, or a little earlier.
Yes, John Barron spends a lot of time on that green as well. So hope you don't get drawn against him on Dakota. No, it's a jack measure.
Over on rink 2.
Has to be at least 21 meters
Mm-hmm.
from the front of the mat. That's a yard short, so they'll throw it back. And the other player will take the mat and place it where they wish and throw the jack. The original player will throw their bowl first, however.
So I've been falling asleep at the wheel here as the women on this game finished off that last set already. So Mary Wright won it, but now as we've started the new set, Elizabeth Jones is off to a 2-0 start. See if I can update the scoreboard here to be a little more accurate. We'll see if Elizabeth can forget about that first set and claim the second one. She's off to a good start, picking up 2 in the first end.
Quite often, the person will win the second set and end up winning the tiebreaker because they have the momentum. And here she goes again, right close to the jack.
That tends to be how I like to play, is I use the first set to just sort of figure out the line and wait and not care too much, but the second set is where I really buckle down, and if you can win the second set, you're usually off to a good start going into the tiebreaker. Must be a pretty good head over there on rink 5 between Ernie and John, as John's asking which bowl's number 3. So if you're getting that far down into the count.
No shout from him, so that means it's not to his liking.
Nope. Pretty good bolts here from Elizabeth,
Yeah,
as
she's
she's
found the range, hasn't she?
starting to get them closer. And Mary's just coming up about 1.5 feet, 2 feet short there. That might be enough for shot, I'm not sure.
Looks to be from my angle here, Jake. Shot bowl.
I wonder if Bob is a secretary on any committees or anything. He's looking to be like a pretty good scribe here to our left as he's scribbling down names.
I'm afraid there's a little school teacher in Bob from
Okay.
it comes through once in a while. I think he must have had some rascals in school because he's got a very loud voice. So.
Ooh.
His name isn't Strong for nothing. It's a strong voice and a strong man.
We were talking about this at the juniors. One day, Robbie Law might turn into a Bob. I found that had a little chuckle about that. I can't picture him as a Bob.
You want me to read those? Okay.
So Liz is just a little bit tight there, coming in, crashing in onto Mary's. And Mary's going to come down and take a look. So it's one for sure for Mary right now in the head. And she has one left to come. I wouldn't be surprised if she looks to give that outside bowl of hers or a roll over to bring that into the count. Only one bull past the jack here, though.
Yes, that can be dangerous.
It can be. It can be. I think Mary's okay right now, though. It just needs to get through the muck in front.
Lawn bowling is a little different than curling in that you play a lot of guards in curling, and you don't necessarily play the guards as often in lawn bowling because it's a very difficult shot.
Mm-hmm.
You tend to play them behind the jack,
Mm-hmm.
try and imagine where the jack might go if it's contacted, and put it there.
Yeah, I'm a strong believer that guards are really not that useful in bowls because if you're a skilled player, more often than not, you can either just up the weight and play inside it or go around it. It's very tricky to get a guard that's going to be exactly perfect that you're not able to play around or inside of.
I wish you wouldn't talk about guards when Elaine Jones is standing so close, because she will scream it at you. Forget about playing. Forget about playing guards. Play the back bowl.
Well, her and I agree on that then. I'm not a fan of guards
yes.
either.
She's pounded that into every bowler that's come into play in Manitoba, I think. Although I every time I see her play one herself, I always comment.
Yeah, every once in a while, I guess, if it's your last bowl, you might want to throw some junk.
Very hard to play it because you don't have sweeping like you do in curling,
Mm-hmm.
and the bowl does most of its curling in the last few feet.
Mm-hmm.
And you might think, oh, I've got a perfect guard there, and it'll finish 2 feet over, and it's useless.
Yep, yep. Saw some interesting strategies at the majors. I can't remember which game we were streaming, but it was either triples or fours. One of the skips was calling for their vice on his first bowl to be throwing guards, and I thought that's an interesting strategy because there's still the other vice and then the skips to play yet, so that's
Yeah.
not something I would ever do, but
Most skips hate guards because they're in the way for their shots.
are you a fan of a team game, or do you prefer singles as your go-to?
Singles is my go-to.
Mm-hmm.
I do play team games, not as successfully.
Well, you got to the majors and triples, though, so I mean, that's
Well.
pretty successful.
Well, I've been there lots. It's winning those Canadian championships that have eluded me in a team game.
Mhm.
I'm hooked up with young Robbie Loft next year for pairs if we manage to get through the province. That would be exciting. For me, anyway.
Yeah,
A fellow
yeah.
like Robbie.
Yeah, no, he was
His
pretty
talent.
excited about that. I was asking him how you're going to roll it. Is he going to lead or play skip? And he said, I'm not sure yet. We might...
That's up
It's
to
up in the air.
grabs. I'm one of those guys that does not mind playing lead.
Mhm.
That's, to me, a very important position, and even in team games. The lead, I say that you can win a team game from any position. if you're on your game. You're putting that on the jack and where you're supposed to all the time,
Mm-hmm.
pretty good chance your team will win if you're,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you're that consistent.
I'm
I say jokingly in pairs, the lead wins the game, and Skip tries not to lose.
I don't know if you could hear that, but Bob Strong made a very good point there.
in a pairs game. He said the lead wins the game, and the skip tries not to lose. I'm a strong believer of that too. I think that the lead really sets the tone for the end. So if you've got a rock star lead, putting them on the jack all the time, then you're usually going to win more often than not, just because you've set the tone for the whole end.
Yeah, I've seen it time and again. I just hate playing a team that has a very consistent, strong lead. Because you know you're in trouble every end,
Yeah,
right from the beginning.
Exactly. Exactly.
And some will say, well, the jack always gets moved. And yes, it does, but not always. And that's when you get your 4 or your 5 ender. So I would be comfortable playing either position.
Mm-hmm.
And Robbie is looking like he's got the skill to pull off either one as well. So.
Might have to do what me, Cody, and Dylan used to do when we played tournaments back in Ontario. I don't know if you know Dylan, but he's around my age as well. He hasn't played for a few years, but the three of us, we were all similar skill sets. So before each tournament, we'd just pull names from a hat for how we were going to roll the lineup. And
yeah, we could do that, actually. We could do that.
I think 3 or 4 years of playing together in triples, we only ever lost 2 games. So I think
Wow.
we were something like 58-2 or something like
What
that.
the heck
So
are you doing behind the table here? You should be out there. Jim. I think you and I tussled once in the,
yeah,
in the
yeah,
last singles here. You're no slouch.
yeah. That was a good game there in the semifinal. I guess that was when battled. I don't know if we played in the round robin. We might have. I
No, I don't think so, no.
don't remember.
Played Cody. Cody and Gary Pickering.
Oh yes, yeah. Yeah, no, it definitely feels weird not to be bowling when I played at WOBA this year, which is a pretty big tournament in Ontario. That was the first time I've played in close to 2 years, so it was weird to be out there. The third bowl I threw, I put on the jack, but after that I couldn't put anything within 5-foot radius. But
Have you seen any wrong biases out here, Jake, from this position? I haven't seen one yet or heard of one.
I could make fun of Pat Bird for a minute, I guess. It wasn't really a wrong bias. We were playing in the morning going the opposite direction here, and he got a little outside, and a big gust of wind came and just blew it into the side ditch. But
Looked like a wrong
it
bias.
looked like a wrong bias, but it wasn't actually a wrong bias. As soon as he threw it, he turned around and said, "I swear that wasn't a wrong bias." Had a little laugh about that.
For those who aren't familiar, each lawn bowl has a small logo on one side and a larger logo on the other, and the bowl always turns toward the small logo.
Mhm.
That's the bias. And if you have it on the wrong side, it tends to go into the next rink over, and you end up buying a round at the end of the game. It's quite embarrassing,
Yep. Yep. And
especially at this level.
everybody's quick to call you out on it too.
Yeah.
Not more than 2 seconds out of your hand, and everybody's screaming at you.
It happens. You decide at the last minute to switch the direction you're going to go from, and you forget to flip it over, and guess what? Wrong bias.
I've been pretty fortunate. I've only ever thrown one that I remember, and it was a drive, so I don't think anybody really knew that
No,
it was
you
a wrong
wouldn't know.
bias. But
You
But I
like
sure
we made
did.
it. You like we made it. You throw it so hard.
But yeah, no, it definitely can happen. That's why they always try to ingrain in you at a early age, or I guess when you first start, to get into the same pre-routine delivery of where you check your bowl, and then if you do that every time, you're always checking your bowl before you get on the mat, you'll not fall into that mistake of throwing a wrong bias. So Mary's playing a bit of a shorter jack here, as her first one is a few yards past.
Yeah, it's a good thing to change your length once in a while, especially if you're playing against a more inexperienced bowler. It can be a difficult adjustment to change their length. Sometimes it backfires, and you're the one that has difficulty finding that length. But But quite often a game can change dramatically.
When I was younger, rather than actually changing my length, I used to just change the mat, so it was still the same length, but it just looks different because the mat's up or the mat's back, and so the newer players got a little deceived by that, but experienced players quickly recognize, hey, this is the exact same length, you just move the mat up a bit.
And sometimes people step on the mat and they kind of forget that the mat is up 5 yards, and they're throwing as if it was back near the tee. Negative results. Here comes our greenskeeper, Trevor Fair.
Trevor.
He got a big smile on his face because he knows he's created a beautiful green here for people to play on.
Things are running well.
I am going to step aside, and I'm going to ask Trevor to come in here. And
already.
I'm sure Jake has a few questions for him.
Absolutely. Thanks for commentating, John. Appreciate that.
No problem. I enjoyed it.
So bear with us for a few minutes while we switch over some personnel as we have John stepping out and Trevor's going to be stepping in. For anybody who's watching at home, Trevor is I think he's a part-time greenskeeper here and does a fantastic job. The greens here are absolutely wonderful. I believe John was telling me his full-time job, he works for a park or something like that and does maintenance there as well. But things are running really well here today, and probably will be all week. And if you do have any questions or concerns about what's going on with Bowls Canada, feel free to send an email to the office at office@bowlscanada.com. Either me, Sarah, or Anna will make sure we get back to you at some point. Right now, with me being out here in Winnipeg, it might be a few days before I return any personal emails, but we'd love to hear from you. So Elizabeth was just a little bit through the head there. It looks like Mary's lying at least one, maybe even two. And I'm about to be joined here shortly by Trevor, I believe it is, yeah? Absolutely. All right, nice to meet you. I'm Jake.
Nice to meet you.
So you're the resident greenskeeper here, I believe, yeah?
Yes, that I am. Yeah.
How often are you down here putting in work?
Pretty much every other day.
Yeah.
We cut about 3 times a week.
Okay.
But we do a lot of other cultural practices as well. So I'm usually here about 3 times a week, and yeah, putting in as much work as I can in that time.
Well, I have to say the greens are running absolutely beautiful here this week, so
thank
hats
you.
off to you on that. That's a job well done.
Thank you.
I've heard a lot of the players saying the greens are just wonderful as well.
Excellent. That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So I think John was telling me that you're down here for, I guess I'd call it a part-time job, but your full-time job, you work for a park or a city?
Yeah, I work for a Assiniboine park. That would be my full-time job. I've worked there for about 5 years now. Before that, I used to be a superintendent at a golf course.
Oh, okay.
And I did that for about 4 years. That's kind of how I got into the turf industry. And so I work at the park, and then after I'm done there, I come here. And this is kind of just a little hobby, but I really, really enjoy it.
It sounds like a busy lifestyle then.
It is, but I like it, so...
Do you bowl as well too, or do you just look after the...
I don't bowl. I'm more of a golfer than a bowler.
Oh, okay.
But I'm thinking I might have to take up bowling sooner or later.
Well, I'm sure since you hear enough, you've probably had everybody under the sun explain it to you, and you've seen it enough yourself firsthand that you're probably already...
I kind of understand the game.
Pretty confident in what you're doing.
When I explain it to other people, I usually explain it as a mix between bocce ball and curling, because the bowls can actually curve just like curling. So yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of skill involved, and definitely a lot of preparation and strategy, I would think.
Yeah, you're not wrong on that. So how many years have you been here, I guess, per se?
I've been here for about 5 years.
5 years? Okay.
Yeah.
And is it just you that's down here putting in all the work, or is there?
No, I can't take all the credit myself. I get a lot of help. I get some help from a friend of mine I take care of the green, and he kind of takes care of everything surrounding the green, as well as a couple of the members here really help out with the gardens in the back area there.
Right.
And a few others help out just with the gutters, raking the gutters and the smaller stuff, all the setup and everything. I mean, I look after the green, and that's it, and that's a small part of it.
Interesting choice of words. A small part of it, but a big part of the small part. I guess it's no easy task to look after green. Takes a lot of hours of dedication.
It sure does, but I think the bigger part is the bowling, actually. So, so I just make the surface that they play the game on is how I kind of look at it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So how did you get into doing something like that? Did you go to school for it, or did you just happen to?
Yeah, I went to Olds College. I took a short course at Olds College for golf course management.
That's in Alberta, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I went out there for a while. Took a short course there for golf course management. I was working at a golf course at the time. I've actually worked on a golf course for 12 plus years until I moved on to the park. But that's kind of how I got into it. I got into it because I kind of really loved the game and just wanted to know more about grass and turf and how they kind of look after the greens. And then I just was working at a golf course every summer and just really enjoyed it, and just kind of went on from there.
That's stellar. I'm glad that things are working out. So,
Yeah.
so are you originally from Alberta then, or you just went to school there?
No, just went to school there.
Okay.
Originally from Altona, Manitoba, which is about an hour south of Winnipeg.
Oh, okay. All right.
And so I grew up there and moved to Winnipeg about 5 years ago when I took the job at the Assiniboine Park, and been here ever since and enjoy it. Only live a few blocks away from here, so it works great for me.
Yeah, that's pretty convenient then.
It is.
Walk over whenever.
Yeah, if something goes wrong, at least I'm a short call away.
Yeah, yeah. So do you actually get to know a lot of the members, or is it more just a few that are actually here when you're working?
Just a few here and there when I'm working. I kind of try and stay out of the scenes and out of their hair. So I'm kind of behind the scenes. They don't really see very much of me, but there's a few here that help out just around the green that I've gotten to know.
So do you normally put in hours in the morning or the afternoon, or?
Well, for this tournament, I've been mowing at 4 in the morning, every morning before before I go to my other job. But usually I have a time from about 3 to 6 that they have a break in bowling games and stuff. So that's when I'll usually get my work done. Only 3 hours a day, but I managed to get it all done in that time.
4 in the morning. You must be pretty tired right about now then. If you're...
Yeah, I could use a nap right now.
How long does it take you to cut and do whatever it is you need to do in the morning?
The green takes about an hour to cut.
Okay.
And then the surrounding area here takes about an hour because we do the inside and outside of the fence.
Right, okay.
And then we do a little bit of trimming that takes about an hour as well, and that's usually all of our time. And then I will only cut every other day, so I'll have to do a lot of the stuff on the days that I'm not cutting the green. I'll do a lot of the trimming and everything else on those days.
Yeah.
If there's a rain day in there, that usually throws me for a loop, and I'll have to finish up at another time. But that's the business. It's the way it goes.
How much outside of the fence do you have to do? Because there's a whole lot of space all the way around.
There is. You can kind of see the line that I go to there.
Okay,
I just do a little bit outside the fence. That's kind of where our property is.
I was gonna say, if you're doing the whole green area, that would take way more than an hour to do.
Yeah, sure. That's all city run, so they take care of the rest of that area.
Okay, all right. What's been the biggest issue that you've had to face, or problem with the green that you've had to try to fix?
Usually I would say the hardest thing is probably trying to keep the speed up.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the main concerns of all the players, is that they want a good green speed. So that's probably the toughest part, is keeping that green speed up. It takes a lot of rolling, a lot of cutting, a lot of adjusting of the mower just to make sure everything's fine tuned. But I would say one of the biggest problems that most greenskeepers face is probably different turf diseases, dollar spot, pythium. We had a few earlier this year. Dollar spot is something I get every year, but you just have to recognize it, diagnose it properly, and come up with the best controls possible.
What do you do to get rid of dollar spots?
Usually, dollar spot. I'll try to use cultural practices. I'll try to dry the green out before I do anything else. But when all the cultural practices don't really work, I have to resort to chemicals. But that's usually my last resort.
I'm sure there are a lot of clubs across Canada that are jealous they don't have someone like you working there, because a lot of the greenskeepers are just sort of there on a volunteer basis, or just sort of get handed the reins and have to take over. But someone who's actually gone to school for it, you probably have a lot more knowledge about it than most.
Well, anything I could do to help. So if anybody's got any questions, I'm here. Like, I do have a passion for just turf and in general, and anytime somebody has some questions, I'm more than happy to do my best to answer.
So you probably get the winters off then, I would assume, in these Winnipeg winters?
No, actually, I'm working at the park, and I'm usually moving snow in the winter.
Okay.
So, that's one of the reasons I took the job with the park, is it is full-time year-round, which is something you don't find very much in the turf industry.
Right.
There's a lot of seasonal jobs, so that's one of the reasons that I took the year-round position. So I'm moving snow in the winter and leaves in the fall and grass in the summertime, and outside every day, and I love it. Wouldn't have it any other way.
What's the earliest start to the year that you'd be putting in time here? Is it probably not till April? Maybe May?
Usually early April I'm here. I'm usually here on the 1st of April, even if it's just to monitor how the green's doing. We get a lot of frost here, so the green actually does a lot of movement. It's not so flat that time of year, but yeah, I'm here early just to monitor and see how things are going, and then the work usually starts going. Usually by the end of April, things start moving quite a bit, and the grass really starts growing, and that's when I get busy.
So you're talking about how there's sometimes a lot of movement. To try to level it out, do you normally just have to put more sand down, or is that the standard way to do it?
The best thing to do is to aerate and top dress with a light layer of sand, and the more aeration and the more sand top dressing layers that you can do, the more even your playing surface is going to be. So we usually try to aerate twice a year here. Sometimes we don't have the budget for it, so we'll only aerate once a year, but best thing is to aerate twice a year and top dress it just as many times as you can. But this green, early in the year, it almost looks like an accordion the way it folds up.
Oh, okay.
And you just have to, it really worries me when I see it like that, but you just have to wait, and once the frost is out of the ground, it kind of levels itself out, and then I'll usually iron it a little bit just to make it a nice, hard, even playing surface.
There's a lot of clubs around Canada where the last sort of 6 feet towards the ditch all just sort of slope towards. Is there any best practices to try to keep it level towards the end, or is it really just you just have to keep aerating and top dressing?
Yeah, you pretty much just have to keep aerating, top dressing every year, making sure that you're doing it every year just to maintain that level playing surface.
Well, thanks, Bob. We got another round of score updates for you. So on rink 8, it's Gary Pickering and Pat Bird all tied up at 4. On rink 7, it's Glenn Taylor up 4-0 over Carter Watson. Rink 6, Gary O'Connell is down 7-3 to Malky Taylor after 7. Rink 5, Ernie Meads up 11-3 over John Seitman after 7. On rink 3, Betty Van Wellingham is up 8-1 over Lois Koss after 3. On rink 2, that's the one next door, Jan Robinson up 4-1 over Claire Day after 4. And then, of course, our featured rink in front of us here after 6 ends, Mary Wright's up 9-3 over Elizabeth Jones. Thanks, Bob. Ever been on air before?
Can't say I have, nope. It's first for everything.
Yep. Yep. Do you do any work when it's actually raining out, or is that when you sort of take a bit of a break?
That's when I usually get a break.
Yeah.
Yeah, it hasn't rained very much at all this year, so
Yeah.
I haven't got very many breaks here. But yeah, that's usually when I get time to sit at home and relax a little bit.
On, I guess it was Monday, was the practice day, there was about 2 minutes of hail. Would that have any serious impact, or is that just sort of a passing thing that you don't really...
No, the hail will just kind of, it'll melt pretty quick, and it's moisture for the green, so it'd kind of be no different than if it rained.
Okay.
The hail was small hail, so we didn't have to worry about the impact on the
Right.
green.
Yeah.
If it was larger, golf ball sized,
Mhm.
I would be a little bit worried that it might leave some indents in the green. But good thing it was just a little small size, and we didn't have to worry about that.
So if you worked for a golf course, you probably had to deal with divots and a whole lot of issues like that. What
Yeah.
were the ways around that, or is that just standard practice that you deal with every day?
Yeah, that's pretty much standard practice. I haven't been to a golf course where you don't find divots. It's really kind of up to the members to take care of their golf course and replace all their divots. There's just no way the greenskeeper could go around replacing all the divots. There's just not enough time in the day for that.
Ever had to deal with it here? I don't see really anything at all, so I don't really think that
No,
would be...
not here. Sometimes if a bowl is dropped, it'll leave an indent, and we'll fill it up. We'll just top it up with sand,
Mhm.
and that'll be about it. So usually there's not a whole lot of divots that you have to deal with on a green like this, which is good.
Is there a particular type of sand that you need to be using when you're top dressing, or is it just...
Just 100% washed sand.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't put any mixture of sand soil. Some places will use a mixture of sand soil, but here we're a sand-based green, so sand is what I want to put in there. Sand that will actually drain water a little bit better than the soil will hold onto the water moisture a little bit more. So if it does rain, the green will drain quite quickly, which is good if there's ever a lot of rain.
Right, right. John was telling me that there are some places where the drainage underneath, you can kind of see it goes up a little bit and down a little bit, and that's just from the drainage.
Yeah.
Has it always been installed that way? I think he was saying it was a few years ago they got, I don't know if it was a new sprinkler system or if it was a new drainage or something, but made some sort of updates.
Yeah, drainage has always been the same on this green since I've been here. We did update our irrigation system a few years ago. We have a high-powered irrigation system, so we have a sprinkler at each corner of the green, which reaches right to the middle of the green, and it'll go on a quarter turn, each of them, so it does just the corner section of the green and right up until the middle, and that has really been a savior for me because it's just been a time saver for me. I've been able to I used to spend just hours upon end just watering the green, and this way I can actually just turn the irrigation system on and go, which is nice.
How often do you need to water to turn the system on, I guess? Obviously that depends on how much it's raining.
Yeah, all depends on how much it's raining and how much water is coming down. But usually I would water 2 or 3 times a week just for a short period of time. The sprinklers are only on for about 5 minutes each, and that would be
Okay.
it.
Just a light, quick.
Yep, just to give the grass a little bit of moisture and keep it green is all I'm trying to do.
That's a pretty good bowl there from Elizabeth. I'm definitely not a greenskeeper myself by any means, so I know a little bit of the terminology, but not a whole lot. I've heard some people say they verticut, and some people call it dethatching. Is that the same thing?
Yes, I would say that's the same thing. Instead of cutting the grass horizontally, you would be cutting vertically, and basically what it does is it thins out the grass quite a bit. So it really helps with the speed of the green. In preparation for a tournament like this, I verticut 3 times in the first 3 weeks of this month, just to thin the grass out as much as possible, because as it's growing, it'll grow in quite thick, and the more you thin it out, the more speed you'll be able to get. And you're also getting rid of that thatch, and that thatch is where the turf diseases tend to cling onto that thatch and hang onto that thatch. So if you're getting rid of that thatch, there's less likely that you'll get any disease on your green. So I'd say it's something we do more than some other places.
Right. Standard rule of thumb is probably every other week or something like that? Or?
Standard rule of thumb that I've been taught is probably once a month.
Okay.
Here we would do it 2 or 3 times a month, unless it's in preparation for a tournament, in which case we
do it
every week. Yeah.
Right. I'm sure a lot of greenskeepers back home will probably find this information useful, and hopefully we'll start dethatching a little more. And
it really makes a difference.
So this was end number 8, so there's only one end left in this set, and it looks like Elizabeth has at least 2 there, maybe even 3. She needs at least 3 to give herself a chance to tie the set. I think she's got it. Prove me wrong, that was a perfect 4. So now she's up to 7. Gives her a chance to actually win the set if she can get another 4. As we start this potentially last end, if she wins the set, we'll have a 3-end tiebreak. Has the weather been good here so far this summer then?
Yeah, we've had some really good weather here. It's been a very hot, dry summer, not a whole lot of rain. Can't complain at all. It's been really nice.
Right on. I wish it was like that back home. I'm coming from Ottawa and it's been nothing but rain there. So it's
well, we could use a little rain, so I would have traded you a few days. But
not quite to the extent of what they're facing down in Texas right now.
No,
that was something else. And Florida's about to be hit pretty bad too with I think it's Hurricane Irma, and then there's another one right behind that. I think it's Hurricane Jose. Right on your tails. So you're saying that in the spring it sort of folds up like an accordion when you actually get back onto it. So is there anything that you can do during the winter, or once it's snow season you just have to sit and wait?
It's just patience. There's nothing that I know of that we can do in the winter. Some places will snow blow their greens, but that's basically just to get the snow off, just so you don't have any snow mold underneath. But as far as movement or undulation in the green itself, there's nothing you can really do that I know of. You just gotta be patient and wait, hope for the best.
Is it usually around October that you would start to sort of shut things down here?
Yep, we're usually done early October is when the playing season's usually done, and that's when we kind of wind things down. I usually finish things up at the end of October, and then put her away for winter then.
Anything in particular that you do to shut it down for the year?
I aerate, I top dress, I make sure that I have a nice large layer of top dressing on the green. Let it settle in a little bit, and I'll also spray a preventative snow mold so that I don't get any mold underneath the snow.
Right. So would you have to spray like the entire green with that then? Yeah.
Yes, you'll have to spray the entire green. It's almost like a protective coating for the green, so that it doesn't develop a mold underneath the snow.
How do you spray that? It's probably not just a squirt bottle. Like, what are you going out and spraying that with?
I usually use a backpack sprayer.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I'll just walk with
Walk
it in a
around.
backpack sprayer. It's takes a few takes
A few laps around to get everything.
Yeah, a couple hours it usually takes. It's a big green, a lot of area, but yeah, backpack sprayer works great.
Great last shot there from Mary, so that secures the win for her. So that's the game, as Mary Wright's won that set probably at least 11-7, if not more. Thanks for hopping on here. It was great to talk to you.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So that's it for us for the day. We'll be back tomorrow morning around 9 a.m. See you then. Cool.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too.